I could have your attention, please. It's now 6 o'clock. Our mayor, Linda Owens, is not here. She had to go to Oklahoma to attend the funeral for her sister. And she's on her way back, but I doubt if she gets here in time for the meeting, so I'm filling in tonight as Mayor Pro Tem. Maybe I'll remember how to do this. I might need a little help. This is a special called City Council meeting on October the 12th, 2023 at 6 p.m.
Quiet.
Can't hear me? Does this thing work? Can you hear me now?
I can.
Oh, I gotta hold it. Okay, I forget. The meetings are available to watch on your YouTube channel. Search for City of Bruceville-Eddy and click the subscribe button. And this is for the people at home. If you're listening in, please mute your phones and computers to avoid any interference during the meeting. I'd like to greet everyone tonight and thank everyone for coming. Looks like we got a good crowd. We like to see that. Everybody learns what the city is doing. And watch them with an eagle eye. If everyone will please stand for invocation by our city administrator, Kent Manton.
Let us bow our heads and pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for just providing this forum, this opportunity for us to come together as fellow citizens, to get to deliberate, to get to discuss. God, we know that you created this opportunity, and it's through your will that we ask that this meeting take place. Please be over the conversations tonight. Just allow us to be able to be civil with one another, to be able to be kind, courteous, to be able to understand and have empathy for one another. Thank you so much for the city staff, for the city citizens, and for our council for coming out tonight. Please just be over their lives, and please be over Mayor Linda Owens and her family, and comfort them in this time of need. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you. Next on the agenda is citizen presentations. The City Council welcomes public comments at this point on items that are not specifically listed on the agenda. Speakers must sign up before the meeting begins. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes each. The council cannot respond to matters that are not listed on the agenda until a future meeting. Pam, is anyone signed up? Okay, no one signed up. So we'll go to item 3, public hearing. It's now 6:05, and this meeting is recessed. And the public hearing is now open. This is for a zoning change from a single-family dwelling District 1 to single-family dwelling District 3. This is located at 901 Eagle Drive, Eddy, Texas. That's next door to the school, in case anyone's wondering. Council to hear public comments pertaining to an owner-agent initiated zoning change on property located at 901 Eagle Drive, Eddy, Texas, containing a total of 122.46 acres, and further described as being located within the city limits of Bruceville-Eddy. This is in between Eagle Drive and Old Moody Road, from its current designation of single family, which is single family dwelling 1 to single family dwelling number 3. The public hearing is open to any interested persons with opinions, objections, or comments related to this matter. Comments related to this matter may only be expressed via mail, email, or by appearing in person. Another person or attorney may also represent you. So does anyone have anything to say about this? They want to develop that 22 acres into housing, single and I guess maybe some duplexes or apartments or something.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Right now, if we can just open it up to the audience, I'll certainly have a presentation after the public hearing is closed.
Okay. Does anyone have anything to say? Yes. Come up to the stage.
I'm just curious what the plan is to upgrade Old Moody Road and Eagle Drive. I don't think that they can handle the cars for 400 houses up and down. That would create a big strain compared to what it's used to now.
Yeah,
and drainage also.
It's already strained, Eagle
Yeah.
Drive especially. So, do you have an answer to that?
I
Or-
can certainly go ahead and address that on the front end. So our plating process does include ordinances that will protect the city. There's a full review that will have to occur once a plat is submitted for the drainage considerations. And we also do have a ordinance that addresses upgrading any streets that abut a developable subdivision, a new subdivision. So those considerations would absolutely have to be taken into effect.
Does that answer your question? They'll do something with the roads. It probably I don't know, but probably widen it out and resurface it and whatever it takes to take control of the traffic. Did you have something?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ian Cochran. I work for the company that has the application, and we purchased the property back in July of this year with the intent to develop into single-family residence. So I guess just to kind of expand on it, we cover projects all the way from Waco down to San Antonio.
So Ian, can I stop you real quick? So
Sure.
right now, we're just trying to hear from the public.
Oh,
There's
sorry.
definitely going to be an opportunity to hear from the developer after this
Yeah, eye
fact. But
contact,
did you
yeah.
want to address this specific concern real
Yes, I
quick?
will.
Sure.
So to your comment, Mr. Manton, I think that your point was exactly right. Any, public improvements that need to be done, obviously we will have to submit the plans and go through the engineering approval process and take into consideration things like traffic impact as well as drainage. So those are all things that, per our plans, that would get approved through the city if we get there, but all have to be considered and we completely acknowledge your concerns. So.
Thanks, Ian.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so we're going to look at making this into a big development. So what's that going to do with our water situation, for one question? What's it going to do to the sewer system that we're already maxed out before it's ever built?
Sure. So the answer to that one is similar to the previous conversation, or to the previous question. As the plat is submitted to council, we don't rely on just city staff to review each and every submission that comes before us. We rely on our engineering firm, MRB Group, and we will certainly submit their official proposal for how many households, how many LUEs for the sewer system they're actually going to be planning on platting out. Because that's something that they're going to have to research, get with their engineers and see, based on the topography, how many homes that they want to put on that plat. We'll send that to MRB, and they're going to be the ones to let us know whether or not we have the capacity, whether we have the storage, and whether we have the infrastructure in the ground to handle that amount of homes, or otherwise, improvements need to occur. And at that point, we would circle back around and let the developer know that traditionally the developer has paid for all those costs. And then if they would like to counter with some sort of development agreement, we could certainly bring that before council for further consideration. The sewer system, I have been told, is almost at capacity when it will be fully built out. There are some variables in that, and I can't honestly say that this project would not be supported by the current sewer system yet. I wouldn't be able to tell you that tonight.
It's my understanding that the sewer plant that we're hoping to get installed will accommodate up to 5,000 people to start with. So that should take care of it, but in the event we need more, it can be expanded. It's designed where it can be expanded 3 more times, which will quadruple the original size of the sewer plant itself, unless they've changed something. Hopefully not. Yes.
Well, I'm not against single-family homes, but I am against apartments being built in Bruceville-Eddy because it will change the whole dynamic of Bruceville-Eddy from people who live here and own the property to who knows who might move in and crime. Crime will come with it. So that's my opinion, and I hope that they don't build apartments because it'll change the way the whole town looks, and it's not part of our plan, the original plan that Bruceville-Eddy had.
Well, I don't know that they are going to do apartments. I hope they don't, but hopefully it's houses.
The word apartments was mentioned.
Yeah. Yes. Joyce?
I just want to be in agreement with that. I don't want to see apartments coming in here. I think that would not be a good thing for the city, or quadplexes or duplexes because of just what that brings with it. Now, single-family homes, I think would be great. People to, come in, be able to buy a first-time home or something and have their family there and, the dog and the cat and all that. But when you start getting into duplexes, apartments, and all of that, you have a whole different thing going on. And I just don't think we're big enough or ready for that yet. Maybe later. Be good.
Okay, thank you. Somebody else? Can he speak?
Well, Mr. Wiggins, if you're okay with it, we'd like to just finish
Okay,
up with the
sure.
public, and then we'll move on to the presentations.
Right, okay.
Mr. Fisk?
What is the difference between the District 1 and District 3?
Sure. So that's something that I will get into in my presentation here after the public hearing is finished.
Yes.
My name is Willard Murray. Man, y'all changed a whole lot since when I was Mayor Pro Tem back in the 90s, or early 90s, so many things have changed. I think the last time I came to a meeting, you were across the street. When I was involved, we were way down in Bruceville, and I think it's a repair shop now, if I'm not mistaken. I own the property that's adjacent to the property that's under discussion tonight. I bought that property in 1980 along with my wife, and we lived here until into the 90s, and then we moved and sold the house and so forth to our son and his family. But I still own the 104 or so acres that are there. So I feel like that I'm probably going to be one of those individuals that's going to be impacted the most, if you will, by whatever transpires there. And I guess I'm kind of like Mr. Fish. The first question I had is, what is the difference and why are these people asking for what I assume is a reduction in lot size is what it boils down to. And if I understand correctly, right now, under the current code, and when I brought that property, it wasn't even the city limits. So I've been impacted numerous times through the years. But what is the difference in 1 and 3? And I know that has to do with lot size in some ways, but I'd really be interested in knowing that, and what one can or cannot build within the current zoning and the zoning under question. Tonight was the first night I'd heard anything about apartments and duplexes. And it still says single family 1 and single family 3, if I understand that correctly. So I'm really concerned about all of that and the impact that it's going to have on the city, the infrastructure, and the infrastructure being lots of things, a lot more than water and sewer. But the streets, the police force, you guys that are sitting here, all of us, you and us, are going to be highly impacted. So I would like to know more information about what it is that we're really proposing. And it sounds like we're going to have to wait until after the public comments before we find that information out. But it is, I want to go on record as saying that it is a concern of mine until I know more about what it is that's proposed. I am not opposed to growth. Matter of fact, when I was mayor pro tem, we were trying to get sewer way back then. So it's not a new thing, guys. It's been going on forever. And I was an advocate then. I'm still an advocate for it. But I think you really need to talk among yourselves and give a lot of consideration to the total impact of changing whatever that is. And I could be wrong, but whatever that is, what the impact is going to be on the city of Bruceville-Eddy. And like others have spoke, I'm not opposed to growth. I'm an advocate of it, but don't bite off something that you wish you hadn't bought off 10 years from now.
Yes, ma'am.
So the council has turned down the RV parks that wanted to come in here. I guess because not enough tax money or whatever reason, or because of what it would bring to Bruceville-Eddy, because I was at some of those meetings. And also hotels have been turned down. Also because it can bring prostitution and all kinds of stuff, hotels. And I just want to say that apartments do the same thing. You never know who's going to live there from one time to the next, and there can be a lot of drugs and all kinds of stuff, so I just wanted to throw that out too.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Expand just a little bit, kind of what I'm thinking, what the SF1 to SF3 is, and I guess we'll have clarification here in a little bit, but it's mainly on square footage, I think, going from a 9,000 square foot to a 5,000 square foot lot. Now, whether that's going to be a single family house, a little Cracker Jack house that goes straight up, we share a gutter and we share a driveway, almost like multifamily, or instead of having a home with a yard and a little bit more room between neighbors, I guess. I've been in some of these new developments. My daughter lives in one now, where I'm assuming that's probably exactly what this is, and it's all, it's a one-car lane garage driveway, and everybody else parks on the curb. And you can't even drive down the streets because you're packed in there so tight. I may be wrong, but I just want to go on record that is a concern of mine. May not be apartments or duplexes, but it's going to be congested as a apartment. And I guess from a school standpoint, one of my concerns is dumping all this traffic on Eagle Drive and on the backside is just school safety. How fast can we get emergency vehicles into the school? What is the traffic going to look like around the school? I mean, that's the youth of the community and their safety, and I think that needs to be taken into long-term consideration. We can throw up houses before we can. You go down in front of Hewitt and some of these Spring Valley Elementary and stuff like that. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they're lined up from here to my house, waiting to get in, and that may be the same scenario we may have here. Parents wanting to pick up kids, and we got them stacked down to the dollar store. So. Those are some of my concerns as well.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I have a real loud voice, so I don't mind sitting Isn't the chemical factory on Old Moody Road where Vivian's place, I can't
Yeah,
remember.
they
Would
recycle.
would those houses butt up against that place? And would that be a concern?
Well, yeah, it comes up to, she has land out behind.
Okay,
and
so
back.
she would have like a buffer
Yeah,
zone.
But this land does go all the way to Old Moody, but not all the way down.
It doesn't go, okay.
Yeah, they'll,
So-
they'll have streets, I'm sure, coming
Does it
and going.
come down behind the high school where the curve is at? Is that where the houses come
Yeah,
all the way to where
it's-
that sharp curve on Old Moody?
Yeah, it goes on the other side and goes up to
Back toward.
Mr. Murray's land.
So,
Between the Murray property and the school property, from Eagle Drive to Old Moody Road.
And then it
Yeah.
goes all the way back near that cell tower?
so Mr. Bass, if you wouldn't, if you'd be amicable to it, I think this is a good point to wrap up the public hearing.
Okay.
And then we
Okay.
can get into the presentation and we'll be
Yeah.
able to address some of those concerns and have some more discussion.
Okay. Okay, if there's no one else, close, go ahead and close. This public hearing is closed at 6:22, and this meeting is called back to order. Mr. Manton is going to explain some of this stuff. I mean, I don't know exactly what they're going to do, and I know I'm not going to vote for anything until I find out what they're going to do and how it's going to be taken care of and everything else before I vote for it. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bass. Would you mind moving it down to agenda item number 5 and just kind of reading off that proposed ordinance?
Yeah, number 5. Zoning change from single-family dwelling District 1 to single-family dwelling District 3. So that pretty well lets out apartments. It says single-family, so. In my opinion, that there's no apartments, which I don't like either. 901 Eagle Drive, Eddy, Texas, at the request of an agent of the property owner, council is to discuss, consider, and possibly take action to approve ordinance 10-12-2023-1, which would be changing the zoning classification on property located at 901 Eagle Drive, Eddy, Texas, containing a total of 122.46 acres, and further described as being located within the city limits of Bruceville-Eddy and in between Eagle Drive and Old Moody Road from its current designation of single-family dwelling District 1 to single-family dwelling District 3, and amending the official zoning map and comprehensive plan of the city of Bruceville-Eddy in McLennan County, Texas, to rightfully reflect said changes.
Thank you, Mr. Bass. So to get to the bread and butter of this conversation, before you tonight is a single-family zoning change. Right now, what's being considered is going from single-family 1 to single-family 3. The zoning change was requested by an agent of the owner. Mr. Cochran is here tonight, and he will certainly present on this after I'm all wrapped up. So you can see on your screen here that we've got 3 different designations for single-family dwelling districts in the city of Bruceville-Eddy. Now, when the original zoning ordinance was passed in about 2003, this land was designated as single-family use. There was an update somewhere in there, and I couldn't tell you 100% where that occurred, but the single-family was split into 3 different densities. So staff is presuming and interpreting that this property is currently set up as a 9,000 square foot lot. And you can see down there that equates to about 0.21 acres. So right now the property owner can submit a plat to city council with lots going down to that minimum. What the new property owner is requesting is to reduce that down to 5,000 square feet, presumably to increase their return on investment and be able to install the proposed amount of homes. So Danielle, if you'll go to the next slide for me there. So just want to clarify on this one. So council is still going to have to go through the platting process of this. Right now we're looking at 3 separate properties that make up what has been purchased. If this is going to be subdivided, it's going to be subject to our subdivision ordinance. It would have to, a preliminary plat would have to be prepared and sit to council. That would have to go to our engineering firm. They would have to review the drainage considerations, street improvements, water improvements, sewer considerations, among other things. So just because council may consider reducing this to a more dense zoning tonight doesn't necessarily mean that that's what the developer is going to end up submitting. There's plenty of other considerations to take into account. I think I've already kind of touched base on that. Oh, on the second comment there, so this is contingent upon having a sewer system. Just so everybody's aware, the TCEQ requires a minimum ½ acre for a septic system. So right now, even with the current designation, the home lots would have to be 0.5 acres if they decided to go forward with the septic, if something weren't, able to go through with our sewer system. So just to note on this one, so the proposed use is inconsistent with our comprehensive plan that was passed back in 2011, which designates this lot for civic purposes. So that amendment has been included along with this zoning change. Danielle, if you'll go to the next slide for me. So as required by our zoning ordinance, proper notice for this application and hearing were published in the Waco Tribune-Herald. 15 notices were sent out to adjacent property owners. And then you have before you an ordinance that would amend the zoning map and comprehensive plan. As far as my recommendation on this one, I would like to propose approval here. When you talk about the needs of future residents of the city of Bruceville-Eddy, unfortunately, the starter homes are not what they used to be. I can certainly understand the concerns out there, but to be able to make housing affordable for future residents, sometimes it's in the better interest of allowing a developer to go with the market demands. And as you can see all around Texas, the market demand is kind of moving towards this smaller lot, getting more house, having less lawn care. So that's why I'm recommending the approve. If you'll go to the next slide, we'll go ahead and get into the maps real quick. So this is a map of the property that has been purchased and that is up for rezone. You'll see that it does travel all the way from Old Moody Road down to Eagle Drive, kind of curves around the school district's property, and does not include that, I think it's American Cell Tower that owns that one, that triangle lot there. And then next slide. So this is our current zoning map that we have hanging in our back conference room, and as you can see, that's all designated as that single family district. I think that is the end of my presentation. Do we want to go ahead and address any questions that the citizens have of me first before we get into Ian's?
Yes, anybody have any questions? Yes.
I know that we're a small community and we want to kind of keep the flavor of our community the way it is. Putting in houses on 0.11 acres is going to just be like stacking them up, like this gentleman back here said. That's a really tiny, tiny lot. Danny has less than 1/4 of an acre. That would be like putting 2 houses on her property. That's tiny. I would not agree with this proposal at all.
And one other thing that might be noted, it's in the city limits. So if they build single houses, we have an ordinance that was part of the loan that we got in grant, that any house inside the city limits is going to have to be hooked up to the sewer.
That is correct, sir. And that brings up another point on this as well. So as you can see, the single-family dwelling district completely excludes any other multifamily housing considerations. So the zoning change currently would not allow for any apartments, any manufactured homes, no duplexes, multiplexes, anything like that, and neither would the change to the single-family dwelling district number 3.
And another thing that this would help the city, this would be, 75 or 80 homes, probably at least. Right now we have 600 and something hookups to the sewer. Each one of those would be paying a sewer bill each month. But if you add another 85 or 80 people on the sewer, that's going to lower everybody's monthly sewer bill. So it's going to help the city and the people here in lots of ways. Yes.
The question I would have would be the comment the gentleman made about parking all up and down the street. In the ordinance, could that be addressed where you couldn't have 1,400 cars parked all up and down the streets on both sides and people can't get in and out? That's just an observation and a comment to maybe consider in not allowing that activity with this development.
Or perhaps just parking on one side of the street. That's what they do in Waco in some places.
Yeah, but I think that's a concern
Yeah,
because you have a single-family house that's got one car that can do, there's like
Yeah.
1,400 people that are going to
Yeah.
try to live in there and bring their 1,400 cars. So that would be something to consider as well.
Yes. Okay. Yes, Mr. McGurr.
Okay, I have one concern. Is there going to be a homeowners association related to this? So I'd like somebody to address whether there's going to be a homeowners association, because that would self-regulate some of the concerns there. Also, rentals because like we were talking about, we don't want any apartments, but if you're going to put 85 homes in there, you're going to get people that are going to take advantage of that. They're going to come in and buy up 3, 4, 5 of those and start a rental business in that area. Now, that might as well have an apartment house, especially if you're going to do it on a 1/10 of an acre of land. That's an apartment house with dirt in between. So that's my comment.
Mr. Bass, would you like to go ahead and invite the developer up to start addressing some of these questions?
Yes, would you come, and would you raise that up a little bit? I could hardly hear you before.
A little more. Thank you all for having me. I'll move this up, I guess. But so again, like I came up earlier and introduced myself, I guess I jumped the gun on that. But again, I'm Ian Cochran. I work for WBW Development. We're based in Georgetown on the property. Looking forward to working with you guys or attempting to. So I guess the biggest thing that seemed to stick out at first, when I heard apartment, I wanted to say, nope, that's completely not the case. I don't want anyone thinking that or getting around, so I'm going to bury that right now. I think another comment I wanted to make about regards to HOAs and that, I think that that's something that important that we typically include in all of our subdivisions. It puts grounds on the table for what rules, what design parameters can actually go into a subdivision. We think that's very important. So I hear your concern there. I think that's something that more than likely will be the case. So I wanted to let you know that as well. I think that it's important to also note that the mention of MRB Group and now having the civil engineering firm come in and actually really review the plans, go through all of that. I mean, there's only so much we can do. So we want to build something that's actually going to get the approvals and meet everybody's needs and concerns. That's always an important thing from the get-go with us. It's why we start early and come to these meetings to let you all know what we're trying to do and just get out in front of it early. In regards to lot size, I think it's important to mention that more of a reason why we're asking for SF3, we typically will, the smallest that we typically will do will be a 50-foot wide up to 120 feet deep. We don't typically do that much smaller than that. So although SF3 allows us to go to like a 5,000 square foot yard, that's not very typical of us. But it gives us more parameters to design around. It's not going to say that we're going to do every lot 5,000 square feet. That's just not the case. We like to have variation and offer different lot sizes to builders. And so that gives us more room to work with larger lots, but also be able to go down that size if needed. So I wanted to make sure that that's understood as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Murray?
I couldn't hear everything,
Can't either.
but is there right now it's a single family one, am I correct?
That's correct, sir.
And we're asking for a single family 3. Is there something in between? Is there a single family 2?
There is a single family too.
What's the difference in 1, 2, and 3?
Danielle, if you'll go back 3 slides, I think it is.
And you can't see that back here.
I'm sorry. So we've got single family 1 district. It's 9,000 square foot lot, and that's 0.21 acres. Single family 2 is a 6,000 square foot lot. I did not calculate the acres on that one. Sorry, I didn't anticipate this question. And then single family 3 is a 5,000 square foot lot, which is 0.11 acres.
I would hope that you would consider something less than a 3, or greater than a 3, however you want to word that. I think that doing what you're going to end up with houses arm width apart.
Yes.
I agree. That's what concerns me, is the size of the lot. If we could have, I'm not opposed to families buying their, having homes and having new homes come in. But when the lots are that small, it's just too small a lot. And you're going to have congestion. It's right there at the school. I mean, it's literally in the backyard of the school. And you have all this congestion that's going to happen, and all due respect, sir, developers are in it to make money. The more houses they build, the more money they make. So the smaller the lot, the more houses they can build. I mean, it's business, I understand. But I'm thinking about the community and the school, the kids, the impact on that area. Just right over here. It's just right over here from where we're standing. And the street congestion, the buses that will have to get into that area to pick those kids up. There'll be busing that will have, parents work. They're not going to let their kids walk to school by themselves. They're going to need busing. Things like that we have to consider as a community and as a city council. How is that going to impact the community? And if there's an in-between, a compromise that we can do, then, I ask you to consider that. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Wiggin.
Well, what I've heard these people say out here is they don't want apartments, they don't want duplexes, multifamily housing, and this is first off, it's single-family housing, and our definition, I'll read it to you: single-family dwelling, a dwelling designed and constructed as a freestanding structure for occupancy by one family and located on lot or separate building tract and having no physical connection to a building located on any other lot or tract and occupied by one family. So there will not be any multifamily housing, will not be no duplexes on this. Now, what else I'm hearing here is the same thing that I've seen, like Mr. Murray said, where his daughter lives, where my son lives in oh, wow, man, there's vehicles parked all along the side of the road because they don't have nowhere else to park. That's the way it is. And I'm hearing everybody say that they don't want the 5,000 square feet. That's not that much, 5,000 square feet on a lot. So I'm going to listen to the people. And right now, I'm saying 9,000 square feet, SF1 is good enough, because these people out here, that's what they live around here. That's what they want. And not only those, but we're for the people that's going to move over there. For those people that's going to move there, they don't want to live in a little old small lot like that. If they do, they'll go somewhere else. They come here because this is a small community, rural community, and that's what they move here for. If they won't live in little cookie cutter houses and right next to each other, then they can go somewhere else. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, one of the comments that I did hear was that the proposed design was going to have a 50-foot frontage on the property. And our city ordinance currently requires 80 feet minimum. which means that at some point in time, somebody's coming back to us to ask for another variance. So we're giving them a variance in anticipation of another variance, and we're getting smaller and smaller and smaller and more compressed. So I know when I ran for office, I said I wanted to grow, but I did not want to lose our rural agricultural identity in that growth. That's a difficult task, but this is not going to help me represent the people that said they wanted me in this office.
That's true. Yep. Anybody else? Yes.
I guess my question would be, is the 5,000 square foot proposal, or SF3, is about 400 plus homes going in, is that correct?
I don't know.
Ian, did you want to come up and speak to a little bit to what your long-term plans are on the property?
Sure, yes, to address your question, I mean, right now it's kind of a rough number. Clearly, we're trying to go through the zoning process to figure out how we can put on something on paper that will really actually be how we can move forward with construction documents. So I think that at this point in time, I want to just revert back to, I guess, the square footage that I was mentioning earlier. I think like right now in working with various builders, they tend to gravitate more towards a 6,000 square foot lot, but it's about the dimensions of it. I guess what we're hearing from them is that, you know, customers prefer their kids, their cat, their dog, everybody to have that space in their backyard. They'd rather have that space back there and their private, you know, your parents, you can govern it better, if you will, I guess. But so I just want to make the point that, you know, I think if we were to be able to go down to SF3, that we could still, I mean, that's the very minimum to have any 5,000 square foot. I don't think that we pursue that. So we typically build bigger than that just by dimensions because that's what works best for most people. So I wanted just to make that point once more.
Mr. Bay.
Yes, Mr. Wiggin.
Yes, sir. Well, and I understand that you might not, but if we do that, you could. That's the whole thing right there. I just can't see going down to 5,000 square feet, and that's what you're requesting. And I just don't, I believe the 9,000 square feet would be good. I understand why you're doing it. Y'all are doing it for the money. Less lots, more houses, more money for y'all. That's why. I mean, let's be honest. So, but we're thinking about the people that's going to move into them. We're thinking about the people that's already here. These people we've heard from tonight. That's who I'm thinking about. Thank you.
Yes.
Just one other note off that. If they did put in 400 homes, and say the average household is 3 people per house, that's 1,200 people. And if there's 1 kid per house, that's 400 kids. And the average enrollment in school right now is 580. So we have to double. I mean, there's a lot of planning to go ahead of us as far as school size and district and growth. And, I mean, when you give them the green light, people better start moving quick. So
Yes.
just giving you a heads up on it. That's just 1 student per house. It's almost double the size. You know, go 2, you're double.
Yes.
That's true, and I agree with you, but the city has nothing to do, you know, with what the school does. That would,
I'm not asking, I'm just,
yeah.
as a perspective,
Yeah.
as far as congestion and the size of our schools.
Yes, that's true. We may have to build a new school out somewhere else. Yes, is that it? Go ahead and go ahead.
Yes, sir. I was just going to say, it looks like that kind of wraps up the discussion on that one. If you want to move on to any motions.
Yeah. Are there any motions on this rezoning? Yes, Mr. Wiggins.
Yes, sir. I'll make a motion that we do not change the zoning from SF1 to SF3.
Okay, motion's made and seconded not to approve the change from zone single family 1 to single family 3. Is there any discussion? All in favor? 4 yeas. Okay.
So
As
the
it's-
motion carries.
Yeah, motion carries. Okay, let's see. What about number 4?
Yes,
That's
sir, we
already
already wrapped
done.
up number 4. We're moving on to item number 6.
Yep. Item number 6. Water model and GIS mapping presentation by the MRB Group. Council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action on a presentation from MRB Group Engineering on the current state of our water system.
Thank you. I'm Armin Hunt with MRB Group, for those that don't know me, and I'm here to discuss the water model findings and a summary of improvements that I'm going to recommend to take place in the future. Background information, we were contacted by Bruceville-Eddy to do an electronic version of the GIS system and water model and some recommended improvements. In our analysis of the city of Bruceville-Eddy's water system after the completion of the GIS and water model, we found water capacity issues in the southeastern portion of the CCN, which is the Falls County side, and what I consider the Talbot Ford pressure plain. TCEQ requires a 35 PSI minimum to be maintained with a 0.6 gallon per minute demand per customer connection. And this is not the case for that pressure plane, especially on the southeast side, and I'm pretty sure y'all are aware of that. So my improvements, I'll read them here and then we'll pull up the map shortly, is to extend the 6-inch main on FM 1239 approximately 10,500 linear feet to the intersection of FM 1239 and County Road 449, and also connect the existing water mains at that intersection. This would rid the city of the pressure problems in Falls County, but would also need some more improvements as, you know, maybe more homes or more people move that direction. So my second improvement would be to upsize the 2-inch main that runs from 4th Street to Blevins Road and then south to County Road 447. And I would recommend upgrading that one with a 6-inch main as well. And I'm choosing 6-inch because you can get fire flows with that, but really any improvement would be best. And if you're going to do it, I'd say 6-inch minimum. With the improvements I just discussed, the city's water system would be in compliance with TCEQ's minimum 35 PSI requirement and allow for future growth in the water system, particularly that area. And it would allow fire flow as discussed and developments in the area moving forward into the future. Let's see. And I went ahead and well, let's go through the maps first. Let's see. Which one is this? It may be hard to see on here. I'm going to walk over here. I think y'all can hear me.
Yes, sir. And we have a little laser pointer up there too, if you need it.
Try not to blind anybody.
Reminder, I'm blind back here, so the screen is like itty bitty, so you need me to zoom, I'm gonna need your guidance as to what buttons I'm clicking on, because I can't really see them from back here.
Let's see. Can you scroll down a little bit? Okay. So the Talbot Ford pressure plane that I'm referring to is really the whole eastern side here. And all these yellow dots that you see, y'all can see that, I know it's hard to see, so there's a bunch of yellow
You can go, Danielle, if you'll go down there to the very bottom, you can see the 3 different pressure plane maps. Armin, which one did you want? The pressure plane?
I'll go through each one once we get to it.
Good to go.
Zoom out just a little bit so we can see the whole system as a whole.
Right now, Danielle's got a mirrored or a extended screen, so she can't necessarily see everything. She's got to look over here at the projector. That's why it's a little tricky.
So communicating with Bruceville-Eddy, we were able to come up with the pressure planes based on where they have, their wells, their water facilities, and where the break points were. So this is just a map to represent the pressure planes. So this is the Fort Talbot pressure plane I was talking about. It's the largest portion, and that's where the improvements down here would really help. This is a low elevation area, kind of all through here. So that's why you don't see pressure drops there, because it's so low, you get a lot of pressure. And then this is your western pressure plane, and then there's a pressure reducing valve here that separates this pressure plane. And then your Friendly Oaks well here creates a pressure plane, and then it pumps the whole Bethany that has its own pressure plane. So that's the pressure plane map. Now there's one more, the proposed improvements map. Basically, it's a map of what I just previously discussed. So this is just a representation in red of the 6-inch main cut proposing to get the pressure up to TCQ regulations and allow for future growth in that area.
Thank you, Armin. So before we start taking questions, I will just note that staff, we received a preview of this hydraulic model in GIS over the past month or so. We got an opportunity to sit down with MRB Group engineers, kind of discuss some of our concerns. We had Public Works there with us, talked about some of the ground applications that we see out in the field. Definitely some good feedback was provided at that meeting. What we're seeing with the water model is a bit of a difference of opinion from our previous engineer. Falls County area definitely needs attention. That is absolutely in line with past recommendations. However, on the northern end of our water system, we actually do have some additional capacity for water meters. And so we are actually working through a backlog of water meter feasibility requests in that area. Myself and Pam will be following up with that next week. And so we should see some additional meters being added up there. And then I'll just say, my recommendation for council on this one is don't forget that you have the Infrastructure Planning Committee. I think this would be a great opportunity to push this recommendation and proposal to that committee, allow us to be able to actually kind of hash out some of the more specifics of this. What lines are we going to upgrade to get into compliance? Do we want to upgrade any for growth? Those types of considerations before we bring a recommendation back to the council for moving forward.
Yeah. And Kent and everybody, I added some TCEQ storage and capacity requirements to this. And so it's just kind of lets you know where your system's at. And and that one even shows the Talbot forward pressure plane doesn't actually have enough pumping capacity either. So with the new well, if we go that direction, that would be taken care of. So I think you're in good hands there, honestly. So I think the 2 mains with that well would be the way to move forward.
Mr. Prater?
On these 2 options that you gave us, the priority 1, priority 2, is that something that we're going to need to do both, or is it one or the other?
So priority 1, it puts you in compliance with TCEQ, so I would definitely recommend doing that one as quickly as you can. As far as the second one, my recommendation meeting with Kent is, as developers come in, you can have them increase your water line. So maybe have them run it as far as needed for their development, and then another one comes in, have that extended as well. And,
So we could wait on the 2, but the 1 is...
Correct.
Thank you.
Is this going to give water meter to to the people out on Highway 7 out in Falls County?
Let's see, where's
They're-
highway?
they
Is
still
that on the east
are-
side? Is that on the eastern side of the interstate?
Are they still wanting to put that, whatever it is that they were going to put out there, remember? It will?
Oh, the new water well?
No, no, no. They're wanting to develop out on Highway 7.
RV park.
Yeah, RV.
The high-end RV park
Yeah.
out there by the kangaroo farm.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, they come in, they was wanting a change in the,
yeah.
in
They came before the council.
Pam has some comments on that one. Pam, you want
Yeah,
to come up
Pam.
and speak to that real quick?
They never did purchase the property, so I'm assuming that it's dead.
Oh, okay. I hadn't heard anything about it lately, so, okay. Yes, Mr. Talbert?
We can't
We
hear
couldn't-
you.
Mr. Talbert,
I couldn't hear none of you tonight, but the mayor stopped up. I said, you're proposing to come to 451, which is Blevins, up the 2-inch line easement we had, and run it down to 447, which runs down another road and goes back past in 440, 439, 440, where you run it out 1239. Okay, that's good, because the growth is gonna come to the south, and the interstate, you'll have that big line right there at 451, where the developers and people who want some business can just tie on to it and keep it going. So I just wanted to thank you, and that, some of these things were proposed for a long time, so thank you very much.
I'm glad I'm on the same page.
Okay. Mr. Prater, you have a question?
Okay, if we do this priority one here, will they be able to raise that, will we be able to give out meters out there now, or after this?
Most likely.
Like we got a memorandum on them now? So,
Most likely you'd be able to add meters, but with each meter, we'll review it and make sure. So with that first improvement, certain areas, especially even further south, are still low in pressure, but as long as they're above that 35 PSI threshold, then it will work. Now, there is a requirement, and it's noted in here, a 2-inch main can only supply 10 meters. So you run into that issue in areas too. So that's worth noting.
right. If we go higher pipe, will it increase?
Yeah.
I mean,
So up to 6 inches, TCEQ has a certain amount of meters that you can tie in. Over 8 inches is basically an engineering decision if the meter can be tied in. So up to 6 inches, it's 250 meters, I believe.
okay. But if we went 8-inch pipe,
8-inch, then you could have as many meters as long as the engineer recommends it.
okay, I'm just thinking future.
Okay. Approximately, what's the difference in cost to put a 6-inch and an 8-inch?
Not very much. Difference
That's
in the
what I
cost of pipe.
thought.
It's the same installation.
While you're putting it,
Yeah,
go ahead
I
and put
always
the 8.
recommend going with larger pipe if you're going to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Armin, did you want to speak a little bit to the proposed costs on these priorities?
I can. Let's see. The priority one cost, it is, let's see, a little over it's 10,620 linear feet of 6-inch PVC water main. And that, it's a long water main, so it does add up. It's just shy of $1 million in construction fees. So it does have a price tag, but as water meters come on, you'll get that meter money for the remainder of the city of Bruceville-Eddy.
And just to note with council, we do have amount of cash that has been budgeted this fiscal year, including grant funds that could be thrown at this project. However, we're probably going to have to look at some sort of financing mechanism to make up the difference on this.
And that's the priority one. Okay. Any more questions? Any motions? Mr. Wiggins?
And I hadn't had time to look at all this because you just dropped it on us tonight. But based on the water system that we have right now, the way everything is, how many, we've got about 2,000 meters roughly?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay. About how many more meters could we have before we would be beyond our capacity?
There are so many different TCEQ requirements that I could tell you 20 different numbers, and what it would boil down to is whichever one's the least. So that would take a little investigation, and it's different for each pressure plane. So I could sit down and study it and probably tell you per pressure plane.
Yeah.
I could come up with that.
Okay, because the reason I'm saying is if we add roughly, let's just say 400 homes over here, and then we've got another of that Eagle Ranch edition of
About 90 homes. I
about
think.
80 something. That's
Yeah.
where the 80 something come in there. So you looking at 480 maybe homes, just there, those two. And I would like to know are we going to be able to without buying extra water from Bluebonnet, and then probably we might even have to have a new well, which y'all are looking into that.
So
I don't know if we'd be able to sustain that many additional houses with what we currently have.
So your Westridge pressure plane is really primarily Bluebonnet water. You have that well there that produces around 90 gallons per minute. So anything in that pressure plane would probably increase your Bluebonnet water. Everywhere else has a well. Now Westridge does feed the Ford ground storage tank. That does feed into the Ford Talbot pressure plane. So if more water is needed that Talbot well could not provide, then it would end up coming from the Westridge pressure plane, which ultimately may be Bluebonnet's water.
Okay, and again, it might not be, I'm sure it's not nothing simple, but is it a way that you can roughly tell us, okay, if y'all added another 500 homes with what y'all currently have, I think you'll be okay. If it's anything over that, then you're going to have an additional water source.
Yeah, I can definitely look into that. And that's
Okay.
part of our plat reviews, is making sure you have enough water.
Right, okay. Yeah, I think that would be important for us to
Yeah.
know, because we don't need to, be sitting here. We have to me, we need to protect the water that we currently have for the people that currently live here, and ensure that they have water for the future, and then obviously work on our growth too.
And another thing, we have a meter moratorium, but that's just in
Falls County.
certain areas
In
because of
Falls
the
County.
small pipes. But it's not that we don't have enough water; we don't have enough delivery, and that's what we're working on in Falls County now. And we need that desperate because it's building up out there.
Yes. Okay.
Correct.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
So with that, I would like to just make one more recommendation, that council refer this to the Infrastructure Planning Committee. At that point, we can allow the members of that committee to get with MRB Group, answer some more of these specific questions, do some more investigations, get some more of this information in a collaborative way, and then bring that back to council with more information, more confidence on a decision to go forward.
That makes sense. Yes. So we can just let it drop. No action taken on it?
No, I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
That we take the water model and GIS mapping and submit to the Infrastructure Planning Committee for further review and recommendation to the City Council.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to refer this matter, item number 7, no, wait a minute, item number 6 on the agenda to the, and what do you call that?
Infrastructure Planning Committee.
Infrastructural Planning Committee. Any more discussion? All in favor? 4 yeas. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Item number 7, nomination of candidates to the McLennan County Appraisal District Board of Directors. Council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action on Resolution 10-12-2023-1, nominating candidates to the McLennan County Appraisal District Board of Directors.
Mr. Mayor, council, citizens, this is a request by MCAD. They are requesting nominations for 5 eligible candidates to McLennan County Appraisal District. Some changes have been made at the legislative level. Terms for this are going to be starting on January 1st, 2024, but due to Senate Bill 2, these folks are going to be serving a 1-year term instead of the typical 4-year term. So just so you know, any nominations made tonight will be submitted to MCAD. They will develop a ballot that's going to come back before council. City of Bruceville-Eddy does have a low amount of votes. Those votes are kind of determined off of our total appraisal value each year. And as you can imagine, the city sits on the lower end of McLennan County as total appraised value. However, I wanted to make it known to council that it might be a good idea to at least go ahead and nominate somebody to this board. There's 2 very important components to your appraisals and how much taxes you, a citizen, pays each year, right? The rates that's set by this governing body each and every year, that's your tax rate, and then also your appraisal, which is determined through a state mandated process through MCAD. And so having a voice from Bruceville-Eddy might be a good thing. So if you can consider nominating somebody, that would be my recommendation. So 3 members for this board is going to expand to 9 members now from the previous 6. 3 of those members are going to be before you in May, and they're actually going to be up as a part of a general election. So the voters are actually going to have a direct influence on this board's makeup going forward. And then Danielle, yes, if you'll go to the next slide for me there. Thank you. So the current members, just for your consideration, are up there at the top, and then the tax assessor is always an ex officio member of the board. And so with that, I'll hand it back over to you, Mr. Bass.
Okay, that's what we choose from those 5 names. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So those are the current
Oh,
members
those
of
are
MCAD.
current.
So you can certainly nominate any of those.
Anybody, just one?
Up to 5.
Up to 5.
Yes, sir. And it can be additional members of the community as well.
Okay.
Anybody who's a resident of McLennan County.
Yeah. Does anybody want to nominate somebody for the MCAD for McLennan County? You get to vote and decide on appraisals. Up or down?
There was one on here that was,
All right.
that wanted to sit on the.
Okay. Who is that?
Yeah, it was, I remember reading it, hold on.
Are you looking at your list of EDC potentials?
Yeah.
Yes. So resident Mavis Saladay did express interest on being nominated to MCAD as well.
Well, I'd like to nominate Darren Weaver. He's a pretty smart person. He has property here in the city.
He's a businessman also.
Yeah.
Mr. Weaver owns Eagles Landing.
Eagles Landing. Mm-hmm.
I'd second.
Okay. So is there any other nomination? Just one? Okay. Darren Weaver has been nominated for the MCAD Appraisal District.
Do we have a second on that one?
Second.
Mr. Prater? Okay.
And Mr. Prater seconded. All in favor? 4 yeas. Well, we've got a lot of yeas tonight. Okay. Number 8, Bruceville-Eddy EDC, Economic Development Corporation. Resolution approving formation. Council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action on Resolution 10-12-2013-2, approving the formation of the Bruceville-Eddy Economic Development Corporation, appointing the initial board of directors and establishing initial bylaws. So this resolution is, I guess, the bylaws, okay. All right, you have something?
Yes, sir. I was just going to say, this came before council at the last meeting, end of September. There was a motion to correct some language in the bylaws. Those corrections have been made. The updated version of the bylaws have been put before you here at the dais tonight. So section 4, I think it is, item number F is the item that was amended according to Councilmember Wiggins' motion. And I can certainly go into some more details on the EDC, or I can just answer questions. I know we had some good discussion on it last meeting.
Any comments? Yeah. Yeah, anybody? You got something?
I went on the Bruceville-Eddy website today, and it says you don't even have to live in Bruceville-Eddy to be on that board. All you have to do is live within 10 miles. So people from Lorena can come to Eddy and try to tell us what we ought to do. People from Troy can come here. People from Moody can come here.
It's countywide, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't like that. To me, that is a hotbed for corruption.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and also a tax, giving unelected bureaucrats the ability to tax the public, that is a bad thing. Taxes never stay the way they begin. They always go up,
Yep.
and I'm against that board completely. That's my opinion.
Well, that's my opinion too, but that's the way it is, and all we can do is nominate somebody to be on there, and hopefully they will consider us when they do all this appraising. Yes.
It's something that we have to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are
We have no
requirements to do
choice.
that. But
It's,
it still has to go before council, correct?
That's correct.
Any decisions they make, it still has to it has to go through council before we do anything. They don't make the decision, they
So, yeah, let me go into a little bit here.
Yeah.
So, what we're proposing tonight is an Economic Development Corporation. It's authorized by state law. Your sales tax in the state of Texas cannot exceed 8.25%. Right now, ours is at 7.75%. That's the max amount that we're really allowed to go without moving into some special categories for increasing that sales tax. And the proposals that are going to be going before the voters in November are, one, 1/4 cent would go, of every sales purchase within the city limits, would go towards streets and roads maintenance. So that's funds that can be set aside that can only be used to repair existing roads. The second one would be for this Economic Development Corporation. Now, state law has very specific requirements on who can serve on this board, what money this EDC can be used for, and then it also has very specific requirements on how council has to approve any expenditures that the EDC wants to grant. So some examples of those expenditures and why I'm recommending this is that it allows council to go outside of our current budgetary restrictions and get some money for parks, use that money for road improvements, for water line improvements, beautification, business retention incentives, or business recruitment incentives. Really, the program that the EDC would come up with, which has to be approved by council, which is elected by the citizens of Bruceville-Eddy only. Each one of those appointments is going to be at council's pleasure, and they serve at council's pleasure, and each expenditure has to be approved by city council. So there is quite a bit of oversight that would be involved in the EDC.
okay, thank you. Any more questions or a discussion or a motion?
Well,
Yeah.
just when you read this, the bylaws for this corporation, you'll find that in Section 4, or Article 4, Section 2, or Section 1, it says that no budget amendment shall become effective without city council approval. No expenditures of funds shall be made unless such expenditure is provided for by the city council approved budget for the corporation and otherwise approved by city council. Throughout the entire document, everything they're going to do has to come to the city council, whom you elect to represent you in the expenditures of money. It also has in another section that the only money they can use is money that's specifically coming in from taxes for that purpose, for the EDC. It can't reach into the city's budget and say, I want a piece of whatever you've got in your general fund to do what we want to do. It needs to use its own funds. It's,
So where does
That's
it say
correct.
that they can't raise taxes higher than what is proposed now? Where does it say that that tax will never go up?
So council could technically adjust that 1/4 cent and change it into a 1/2 cent at some point, but that has to go back before the voters. That would be a totally different election, special election that would have to go before the voters. The 8 1/4 cent is regulated by state law. Council cannot go above what they're allowed the state law to do. And if the certificate of formation is approved by council and it's sent to the controller's office in Austin, and they're the ones who approve all this and set the tax rate or not set the tax rate, they're the ones who approve this and allow the funds to start rolling into the city of Bruceville-Eddy's account for this specific purpose. Hope that answered the question.
Yeah, Mr. Prater, you got some?
Yes, ma'am. The way, I don't know about everybody else, but the way I vote is if you show up for something and there's more people here for it than there is against it, that's the way I vote. So if you got a problem with whatever is coming up for us to vote on, best thing you can do is show up.
Well, I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
So I didn't,
Yeah, just, I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody here is going to answer to you. Y'all are the people. Y'all are our bosses. So if you show up and you're against something and there's more against it than there is for it, that's the way I'm voting. And if you're for it, more for it than is against it, then that's the way I'm going to vote. So you have all the power. So that's as far as it's going to go. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
how can a person get on the board?
Yeah, that's what we're doing now. Okay, Ms. Wiggins.
So, am I understanding correctly, even if you form the EDC tonight and put the members on there tonight, it's still not approved until the voters approve it in November?
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
So what the voters would be approving in November is the sales tax authorization. The board would be approved tonight if council moves forward with that. You'd be appointing your directors and everything like that, but it's going to have very little power without any revenue coming in. It's going to have no funds to be able to expend. And at that point, if the citizens do decide not to approve that 1/4 cent sales tax, then I would just recommend that the board be dissolved, or that we look at potentially doing this down the road in a different manner if that's the direction that council would like to see us go. Does that answer your question? Yes. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wiggins?
Yes, well, it was my understanding that we had a time frame because to me, it was like we're getting cart before the horse because it hadn't even passed. It has to go through the voters first for that tax to pass for this corporation to have money to operate on. But I was told that we had a time frame and we needed to do it now because by the time the election rolls around, the votes are counted, and then we find out what the vote is, for it or against it. If it's for it, well, then we've already got everything in place here ready to go, and we had to do that by December. But if it does not pass with the voters, then to me it's a moot point. Then this thing is just, we don't turn it in to the state.
That's correct, sir. You just wouldn't turn in the certificate of
Yeah,
formation.
you
and
wouldn't
the
turn in the
corporate wouldn't
certificate, so
technically be-
therefore it wouldn't be no EDC. So it's all up to the voters. If they want that 1/4% on tax for this, then it's up to them, and we'll have it. But we have to do what, on our part, be ready for it in case they do.
This tax we're talking about, 1/4%, that's actually sales tax. It's included in the sales tax. And all the cities around Bruceville-Eddy that I know of have a 2% sales tax. And I think by law, that's all they can have. But Bruceville-Eddy has a 1.75%. We're a quarter of a percent below everybody else. So if the voters approve this, well, then our sales tax will go up to 2%, just like everybody else. And that 1/4 of 1%, which is not going to be very much, goes to the EDC. And that's how it works. So, yes, Joy.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on this, and everybody watching is clear on this, that this on the ballot, the EDC proposal on the ballot is a tax.
Yeah.
And the burden for all that this money will be on the backs of the community. Because
Yes,
it is a tax.
Yes.
So if you vote yes for it, you're voting for a larger tax burden on
Yes.
everything you buy in
Right.
the city limits.
Instead of paying 1.75% sales tax in the city of
Bruceville-Eddy,
you'll be paying 2%, which
So
is,
when you go to the dollar store,
Yeah.
what you buy will be more expensive
yeah.
because of this tax.
Can I say something?
So that this board
Yeah.
can operate and decide what they want to fix or
And that
do.
money can only be spent for certain things, EDC. You can't use it to fix this or that or buy this or buy that. It's
But it's
strictly,
still, the burden is on the backs of the
yes,
people.
as always.
Can I?
Have you been to the grocery store lately?
Yeah, okay. Yes,
Taxes aren't a good thing.
yeah.
But
Mr.
this is also people that come, that are driving down the interstate, they stop here, they eat at our restaurants. We're
Yeah.
actually getting tax dollars
Yeah.
from people that don't live here. Also
Well,
adds
that's
to
true,
our,
that's
yes.
true, but
and so it's,
the majority of it will come from
Yes.
yeah, people here.
from the locals that use the businesses around.
Yes.
When we get the sewer in next week, we'll have lots of new businesses.
Lots of new businesses, but everything will be higher because we have this staff.
It's going to take them a couple of weeks to complete it.
I'm not for higher taxes.
Well,
Okay.
we haven't actually raised taxes in a while. Since I've been here, we
No.
hadn't raised the tax.
It's been the same, I guess,
We try to keep it down,
yeah, since they, yeah.
but eventually,
Yeah.
you want better roads and you want better
Yeah,
things
that's,
in your city, then
yep, that's where the money comes from. Okay,
Ask a question about the EDC.
yes.
So my question is is the city allowed to raise the tax anyway and not
No,
have an EDC? The only way
any-
they can raise that is to form an EDC?
No, anyway, the city can't raise tax, the people raise the tax,
Okay.
they vote, yes
So-
or no.
If it's overseen by city council and it's funded by an increase in tax, what is the actual purpose for EDC? Couldn't the city council
It is-
have that money and do, why do you need the EDC, the group of community people, to decide how the money is spent? Why can't city council do that? That's the part I don't understand, and I put my name out there to be on the
Yeah.
EDC, just to have some input.
Yeah, the
But I don't
EDC,
know why you need the people that aren't elected to have the input when the people have the city council.
yeah.
That's what I'm
Well, the EDC just comes up with recommendations.
Okay,
The city council approves it or doesn't approve it.
okay.
So they can't spend a penny of that money, the EDC.
Right, I know that.
It has to go to the city council, and it's just for certain things.
Yes, so to answer your question, city council has a threshold. They can't increase that sales tax beyond the 1%
Right.
as a part of the greater 8.25 cap that the state has on it. So we have a wiggle room right now of 0.5% that I've recommended to council here, and they've approved me going forward with the ballot propositions to go to the
Okay.
citizens on this one. So tonight, what you see before you is a step in the stone to get us to a position to be able to utilize these different avenues that the state has allowed cities to go down. One of that being a 0.25% sales tax for street purposes only, and then the other option is for economic development incentives only. So the state is kind of the one who controls how the city is able to allocate these funds, how much they can, and then if you want to get additional sales tax, here's your method for doing that. You have
Okay.
to you have to create this corporation. There's a
Okay.
couple different ones. You can do a municipal development district. You can do a type A economic development corporation. Each has its own limitations on what the board looks like, what the funds can be used on. But my recommendation on this is it would give council and the community another tool to collect revenue that can be used for a lot of the ideas that have been brought to me. You know, a lot of people come to me and say, hey, why don't we have a park? Well, we really don't have the money in the budget to allocate for a park, but here's a tool by which we could collect the funds that we could potentially use for a park. But it requires a collaborative, people involved buy-in process, and that's what the Economic Development
Okay.
Corporation is
And
all about.
ultimately, that's going to go before the voters in November.
The sales
And-
tax
yeah.
portion will go before
Right.
the voters, and y'all will have an opportunity to vote that up or down. Now, the board, a type B board, can have people who aren't residents of the city of Bruceville-Eddy, and I think the intent of the state on that one was to allow people who are still paying those sales tax from around the area to have a say on how some of those funds are being spent. Because we've got business owners who aren't residents of Bruceville-Eddy, but that live within the 10-mile threshold or a budding county who might want to have some input on, do we want to spend this on a park, a water line improvement? Do we want to recruit a new business in? Do we want to try to save a business that's been here for years that needs some sort of tax abatement? I mean, there's several different tools. It gets a little legally complicated, but that's why I'm making my recommendation. I
Okay.
hope that answered your
Yes,
question.
it did.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. I know it was long-winded.
So is there a motion on item number 8? Nope. That's item number 8, approving the formation of the EDC. And there is no motion.
This is for appointing not only just the EDC, but it's appointing the initial board of directors, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
That's correct.
Okay. Out of the list that we have here.
But if you don't approve it, you don't need to have a board of directors.
Right.
So nobody wants to approve it or disapprove it?
Well, we have to do something tonight because,
No?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I came because I seen the notice on the Savvy Citizen about picking, and you kind of explained why, but to me, that's not a good enough reason why. I go work at so-and-so, and I don't expect to take into that community and make decisions. And then all of a sudden, that's pulled down, and I'm trying to look for it, and we look, you don't see it again. So I think, like, if anything happens in this city, it should be by the citizens of the city. So I don't really like that. Why was that language put in there? Why was it specific? And it kind of makes me think, more I read about it, I kept thinking about it, well, they have people they want to be on it. We're not going to have a say-so who's on it, right?
So-
And 1,000 people can apply to be on there, but who's picking who those people are? Is it not open to the citizens to know what is, I just don't like ad hoc committees. I love Bruceville-Eddy. We came to live here because Bruceville-Eddy people have heart, and when we don't burden the people with taxes, just like the school. If we need something, we raise the money. People come out and raise the money, and we do it. We want a park? Sure, I'll help. You know, but just going out and saying, let's do this and that, that burdens the taxpayers here and the citizens. And even though if you have a business, think about it, a lot of them want to come over here because we have a lower tax rate. Right?
Yes, ma'am. Currently, we do with sales tax.
So that's my concern is if y'all have
Sure. So let me address a couple concerns on that one there for you. State law of the local government code, sections 502, 504, that is the one that regulates who can serve on this board. So city council can't choose who's eligible for this board. It's not an option that they're open to. The proposal tonight is to form a corporation, so it's not an ad hoc committee. That corporation will have officers, president, vice president, I think secretary. They can hire executive director, and each one of their meetings is subject to the Open Meetings Act. So they will meet here in the council chambers. They will come up to the dais. They will make their motions, and council is responsible for appointing them. So if council's desire is to appoint only members from the city of Bruceville-Eddy or only citizens from the city of Bruceville-Eddy, that is certainly at their discretion.
So we have to include people that aren't citizens here? No. Since the city council is not going to be.
So those folks would be eligible, but it's city council's decision who's appointed to that. And so everybody who expressed interest on serving on this corporation has reached out to me, and I've got that slate of candidates before council for their consideration. What something we might want to do in the future is look at some sort of application process for this, where anybody who wants to serve, if there's a vacancy, would submit that application. Council can review their credentials, their experience, how long they've lived in the city, maybe conduct some interviews, and then make those more informed decisions going forward. Mr. Bass, we have a request.
Oh, okay.
Do we have the right to know who's on the slate that city council is voting on?
I think you
What
do.
those names are?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can we put that up there on the screen? This right here, what you give us?
I don't think I have that readily available for Danielle to put
look
on
at
the
mine.
screen.
Y'all wanna look
But
at it
yes,
right now.
council has that information in front of them.
Some of the people on here actually don't live in the city.
In the ETJ.
Yeah, the ETJ, or they have a business here. Yes,
I have a question. Now, there are 7 people, right, on the board? 7?
That's correct.
How are the other 4 board members chosen? The president and all, how are they, is that voted on by the council, or are they self-appointed, or how's that done?
Good question, good question. So that would be governed amongst the corporation. So they would set their own president, their own secretary. They can hire an executive director, or they can hire assistant secretaries as well. And I actually just saw, to put our city attorney on the spot, if you have any specific legal questions about the creation of a Type B Economic Development Corporation, I'm sure he would be happy to answer those the best he can.
I think, maybe I'm misunderstanding Joyce, but if there's only 3 positions open, and there's 7 on the total board, who already put the other 4 already on there? I think is what she's asking. Well, I'm gonna be the president, and you're gonna be this, and you're, or is there, does the council vote for those 4 other positions? Does the council have to vote those 4 other positions in? Is it oversight by the council? Or do they just say, we're forming this board, and I'm gonna be president, and you're gonna be this, and we'll vote these 3 citizens on it?
So the formation of the board is before council tonight, so they have to approve that.
They have to approve who's president.
No, ma'am. They have to approve the creation of the board, and they have to appoint the initial directors. The directors of the corporation will be responsible for voting and deciding who the president is for a 1-year term, who the secretary is for a 1-year term, et cetera. And if there's any other officers that they would like to create as a part of that board within law.
I believe for sure 2 of the members will be the mayor and the city administrator.
Sir, that is a recommendation.
Oh,
If-
okay.
If you want to exclude the mayor and the city administrator, I think we've actually got a lot of good candidates. Your recommendation
Yeah.
to blast this out on Savvy Citizen was well received. We've got maybe 5 or 6 folks that reached out to us and said that they'd be willing to serve on this corporation. So if council wants to see this made up completely of people outside of council or outside of city staff, they certainly can do that.
Yes.
Are the people on the board gonna get paid with the tax money?
No.
No, ma'am.
Because you said hire a president or whatever. You used the word hire.
So that's a good question on that one. So the board would have the authority to hire an executive director if it decided to do so in the future. However, that decision would have to go through city council. It would have to be budgeted for. For example, the city of McGregor does have a full-time executive director of their economic development corporation who is a paid employee, but that would not be feasible for the city of Bruceville-Eddy anytime soon. The amount of sales tax that we're talking about here that would probably come into our coffers over the first year and a half is probably around $40,000 to $50,000, because we're talking about 0.25% here. So it wouldn't be, I imagine this board would meet very remotely to begin with, because we really wouldn't have a fund to draw from until this is built up. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question on that one?
Okay.
The mayor doesn't have a vote, right, on the city council?
Just to break a tie. But this would be different.
I know, but I don't like the idea of the mayor being involved, that's all.
Okay.
Very, very seldom. In seldom.
I agree. That's kind of.
Well, the mayor don't have to be involved. The city council is the one that elects these positions. I would say this, I think it'd be imperative that we have the city administrator, because we'll work within our budget, So I think we do need the city administrator at the very minimum on here. And each seat here, there's 7 seats, and like the odd number seats are up in odd number years. So if I'm correct here, the seat 1, which let's say if we appointed Mr. McGruer on seat 1, well then his term would be up September 30th, 2025. Is that correct? That's correct. Okay. And the seat 2 would be in 2026. And then 3 would be again in 25. And so
I think
so
the first year we would have some folks coming off of 1 year, so the even number years folks would come off in 2024.
In 24?
In 2024, yes, sir.
Okay. I thought they for 2-year terms, right?
Yes, sir, but with this initial appointment, the first year, those folks that you put in the even number years will only be serving 1-year term. Now, council can certainly reappoint them if they've been serving to your expectations.
So, okay, so we're still on item number 8, approving a resolution for EDC and also appointing the initial board of directors. Does anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we establish the Economic Development Corporation with the understanding that if the voters who are going to control this vote in the tax at this November election, then this board will move forward. But if the voters, knowing what's going on now, and we'll know much more, I know, between now and November about this, if they don't vote the tax in, then we're going to end up dissolving the corporation anyway. So limiting it to actual short language, I move that we approve the formation of the Economic Development Corporation.
And bylaws?
Yes, and the bylaws.
Okay, but, yeah, okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve establishing an EDC and also the initial bylaws of the EDC. And naming the people to serve will come later.
What do you mean later?
Well,
So
Yeah, it has to be tonight.
the motion was made for the two aspects on the agenda. Council can make by separate motion the slate that they would like to see on the Board of Directors tonight under this agenda item, or you can certainly kick this down to our October 26th meeting, but that would be the last opportunity that we have to appoint those directors.
Yeah.
From what I'm understanding from our city attorney's office is that these things have to occur before the election. Brad, did you want to speak to that a little bit? That's pretty correct? Okay.
You have, you can do that appointment tonight, you can push it one more meeting, but it does have to occur, as you said.
I got a question. If we push it down to the next meeting, can more people get on the decision of, can there more people get on here? Like she stated that she would like to have been on here, but she didn't know about it. Can she get on this, or is it, if we vote on it tonight, is this the set that we're going to be?
That don't have
So
to
those
be
are just
decision.
those are just your options, Councilmember Prater.
Yeah.
If you want to kick this down and then allow us to open it back up, we certainly can. What I've been doing is just having a brief conversation with folks, verifying that they are eligible by state law to serve on this board, and then just writing that brief synopsis there for you. But I can certainly expand that list if you'd like.
Were you all, was you wanting to get on the?
My sister wants to get on it.
So yeah, I'd say open it.
She wants to raise her hand? No, I'm kidding. She wants to be on it, really.
So I would,
Yeah.
Well, I think another option that we could probably take, and Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, is we can go ahead and add anybody's name that you'd like to add to this slate of board of directors. And if anybody is ineligible for this position, then I would just come back and inform council of that fact, and then you would just have one more vacancy to appoint for.
Okay.
Would that work, Brad? Okay.
yeah, I'd like to see that on.
So we did have the motion and the second on the approval of the bylaws and the approval of the Economic Development Corporation Type B.
And that's all. Okay. Did everybody hear that? All right, everybody in favor? 4 more yays. All right, yes.
One other thing, I do want to make a motion that we put this back out to the people, open it back up, and then whatever names we have a cutoff date. What would the cutoff date be?
Stand by just 1 second. The cutoff date would need to be the 20th at noon.
The 20th okay. So the cutoff date would be October 20th at noon. And if anybody wants to put their name in the hat, then they need to get with our city administrator and let him know.
And what would be the process that we would go through of picking? Because not everybody's going to want what I want, and you know, Mr. Wiggins might have somebody on there that I don't want. What would be the process that we make the decision?
Sure, so that's a good question. So what I would recommend is that somebody kind of kick off the debate by making a motion for a slate of 7 individuals. And then from there, you know, council can use the amendment process through Robert Rules of Orders to adjust that a little bit as needed.
Okay.
Okay. So,
So,
Absolutely.
I think so. I think, yeah,
Transparent.
Been expressed interest so far?
yes,
Absolutely.
I think it's good open government.
yeah, anybody who wants to be on here, just tell them, and that's all it takes to get on
Oh,
here.
okay, I thought I made a motion there. Did I not?
Yes,
Yeah.
there was a motion made on this one.
Yeah, the motion was made and voted on. And
No.
then,
There's a new motion.
oh, a new motion.
New motion with this, that we open the door for anybody who wants to.
Yeah.
Until noon, October the 20th, to be a recommend or be nominee for the EDC Board of Directors.
And how do
Okay.
you go about signing up?
Just
come
get with
by
me.
or-
Yes, ma'am. You can do that after the meeting, or I can give you my contact information.
Yes.
Okay. So I thought that was my motion right there.
Did you? Okay, motion made and seconded to extend the list of nominations for the EDC until October the 20th at noon. So anybody that would like to be on it will call or come by or send a telegram or something and get your name on there. Everybody's welcome. Is there a requirement you don't have to live in the city?
That's correct. Danielle, if you'll go back one slide on this for me. Here's the eligibility requirements. So we got 7 board of directors, 3 of which must not be officers, employees, or members of the governing body of the city. Qualifications: resident of the municipality or resident of a county in which a major portion of the area of the municipality is located, or reside within 10 miles of the city limits, or reside in the county bordering the county in which a major portion of the area of the municipality is located.
Okay.
So
That's
quite extensive.
quickly.
Can the whole board be just the citizenry? No city council people on it?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All in favor? 4 yeas. Item 10, financial assistance application to TWBD AMPSS. Council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action to authorize the city administrator to submit a financial assistance application to Texas Water Development. What? What? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Street Repair Committee. Council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action on the establishment of an ad hoc street repair steering committee for a period not to exceed 6 months of service. This is just a committee to tell us which street needs fixing.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Council, this was a very successful committee last year. I think it did a good job of kind of getting some of the bulk work of research on upgrading some of our city streets done last year. Just to kind of keep in mind that we had a much limited budget last year, but it was an increase from the year prior. Your city council approved through the budgeting process another doubling of that to go towards street repairs this year. So the purpose of this committee will be to meet, discuss, plan, and spend this year's street repair budget on areas most in need and bring forth a proposal to the entire council for final approval. So this certainly is an ad hoc committee. It's temporary as needed. Based on quotes from last year, I think our only route would be to do another interlocal with McLennan County. They said that their deadline this year would be January 31st to have all interlocal agreements approved. So the work of the street repair committee would have to be pretty quick over the next couple months or so. We've got about $70,000 worth of street improvements to do this year. My first recommendation would be to go back and re-chip seal those roads that we did this year to make sure that they have longevity. And then, of course, we're going to be considering the sewer installation, right? I think that's a very important thing. So repairs that would be approved this year would not go any sooner than spring of 2023. So with that, I just open it up to council to appoint a committee that pleases your desires.
Okay. The committee that we had last year did such a good job, maybe y'all might want to recommend that it stays the same.
So I think we had a question over here
Oh.
from Mr. Wiggins on the size.
My question was how many was going to be on the committee last year? I think we had 2 council members, and what did we have? 2
citizens.
2 citizens.
And then staff.
And then staff. Is that going to be the same, your recommendation?
Yeah.
Sure, I think it worked out really well. It was good to have council's consideration, staff's consideration, and then we had a couple citizens that were willing and able to show up and give their feedback on what roads needed attention as well.
Okay, does somebody want to make a motion, or do you want to do something else?
Do we want to open that up for the next meeting, and maybe some of these ladies here would like to be on that street repair?
We certainly can. We can put this one out as well.
Yeah, I mean, how would we pick? I mean, I'd like to have a list of maybe some citizens that would like to be on that committee.
Well,
Yeah.
Councilmember Prater, if you'll look at your slate there of
Did
of
you
names,
have
we
a-
did have a couple
did you
folks
have
that
a
have already
question?
volunteered for that.
Or statement?
Yeah, I was just saying, I'm not a lady, but I was gonna ask if I could be on the committee.
So in addition to this request by Colton, we also had Mr. Darren Weaver, who you just nominated for MCAT as well, but he said he would be willing to serve on the street repair committee. But we can certainly push this out to our citizens as well.
Yes, ma'am.
This is a question for Pam. You may not know this. The reason we come up to the microphone, I was told, so that the people viewing on YouTube could hear the question.
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
So I'm encouraging people, these are all excellent that you have said tonight, but people on YouTube have not been able to hear.
Yeah.
Is that correct? That's correct. Okay, so I encourage people, because you have great ideas, great questions. We need to come up to the microphone, so the people watching on YouTube, if they want to serve on the road committee, if they want to serve on EDC, they know what's going on.
Yes.
They can't hear us what's
Yeah.
going on at these meetings. I also encourage them to come to these meetings, because you get good input and interaction with our citizens.
Most
Okay?
definitely.
So it's just a reminder. Let's try to come up to the microphone.
Thank you very much. Very good reminder.
Yes.
So please take heed. If you got something to say, come up here. Okay. So the number 10 financial assistance application.
What did we decide on number 9? We didn't.
Oh, yeah, I already checked that off. Yeah,
So you'll make a motion that we push that back to the next meeting,
Yes, sir.
table it, yeah, and then put something out again to the citizens.
Savvy
And
citizens,
you want
yes.
to have the same date, October 20th?
Yes, sir. That'll
Cutoff
be the day I
date.
prepare the council
If
agenda.
somebody wants to be on the street repair committee to let the city hall know up here.
Yes.
Mr. Matton, no.
okay.
So that's the motion.
Okay.
Yes. I'll second.
Mo-
Go ahead.
Motion made and seconded twice. To postpone naming the street repair committee and take names until October the 20th at noon. Anybody like to serve on that committee, will turn in your name. And we'll take this up at the next meeting.
Mr. McGrew is fine. He jumped out
It's a tie. Could they split it? Okay, let's go to.
And then, Mr. Bass, can we have a vote on this one, sir?
Oh, yeah. All in favor? All yeas. Four yeas. Now let's go to number 10. Financial assistance application to the TWBD AMPSS. Council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action to authorize the city administrator to submit a financial assistance application to Texas Water Development Board for their asset management program for small systems, which is the AMPSS funding opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Bass. So this is our last agenda item before we start getting into executive session. So thank you for your patience, everyone. I just want to briefly talk about this opportunity here. It's something that I was ignorant to until we went to a public water drinking conference hosted by TCEQ. So the Water Development Board has this opportunity to assist small water systems by creating a comprehensive plan for managing system in a financially and technically sustainable manner. So this would help us plan and prepare for future infrastructure upgrades and help us and our eligibility for grant and loan funding opportunities. That was really the biggest thing that stuck out for me. It's pretty evident that at some point we're going to have to go to the Texas Water Development Board for a loan, grant, principal forgiveness, something of that extent to upgrade some of our lines to get some significant infrastructure improvements done for our water system. This would make us in a little better position to be eligible for that funding. So this would be up to $100,000 worth of data collection, system analysis, and planning activities. There is no financial match required by the system. If you'll go to the next slide there for me, Danielle. Some of the benefits would include the asset management plan, system operations and maintenance manuals, compliance manuals, training for system management and staff, installation of all the tools that were used to develop on our system computers, and presentation to the system management and governing body. Next slide for me. One more. So this would require on staff a minimum of 80 hours commitment over the course of this study. That's probably broken up over several months, several weeks. And if selected, the contract would actually be between the Texas Water Development Board and a contractor with a memorandum of understanding executed with the city. So my recommendation on this is to approve me to submit this application for assistance.
Mr. Wiggins?
I believe Mr. Griffin would.
I'll make that motion. I'll
Okay.
make the motion that we authorize our city administrator to submit this.
I'll second.
All right, motion made and seconded to authorize the city administrator to submit a financial assistance application to the Texas Water Development Board for their asset management program for small systems funding opportunity. All in favor? 4 yeas. Okay, executive session. Okay, it is now 7:58, and this council meeting is recessed to go into executive session, and it's now 7:59, and we will now retire to the back for an executive session to discuss consultation with the city attorney regarding water tower lease agreement. It's now 8:47, and, oh, I'm sorry,
The time on deck is 8:52.
8:52? Okay, it's yeah, I see it. 8:52, and we're back from executive session. No action was taken, and this special call meeting is now back in session. Is there any, yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I move that for the city to ratify the amendment to the water tower lease agreement between the city of Bruceville-Eddy, Texas, and Net One Connect LLC, and authorize the city administrator to execute the agreement on October 12th, 2023, with an effective date of March 1st, 2022.
Okay, you heard the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to ratify item number 12 on the agenda. All in favor? 4 yeas. Okay, item number 13, amendment to water tower lease agreement, Net One Connect LLC. Council to discuss, consider, and possibly take action on an amendment to the water tower lease agreement between the city of Bruceville-Eddy and Net One Connect LLC. This is for them to put an antenna on the elevated water tower is what it's all about. Okay, is there a motion for item 13? Yes.
I move that we amend the lease agreement with Net One and City of Bruceville-Eddy. The specifics aren't in here, but that's my motion, that we amend it.
Yeah. Do you need to state what the amendment is?
There we go. Okay, yeah, so they want an amendment to section 5, and so that is my motion, that we amend the water tower lease agreement between the city of Bruceville and Net One Connect in regards to section 5. Rent shall be due on the, they want it on the 30th, right?
That would be on the 15th.
Okay, to show that the 15th is when their rent is due.
Okay. Motion's made. Is there a second? Second by Ricky Wiggins to amend section 5 of the water tower lease agreement. All in favor? 4 yeas. Okay, does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay. Motion made and seconded that we adjourn at 8:40, 8:51.
A bunch of us, whoever.
Thank everybody for coming.